Good evening. My name's Tom Riome. I'm chairman of the Public Works Committee, Wisconsin Rapids. We're meeting on Wednesday, March 9th at 6:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. With that, we'll go around and have everybody introduce themselves for the viewing public.
Scott Kellogg, District Alderman 3.
Terry Dolan, District Alderman 8.
Mayor Zach Ruink.
Lee Town, Alderman District 1.
Joe Terry, Director of Public Works.
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer.
Steve Coe, 5th District Alderman.
Paul Shadowski, Elections Coordinator.
Joe Baughman, Wisconsin Rapids City Times.
Jaworski,
Streets.
Thank you. Item 2, a review of the DPW report.
Attached to your packet is the Public Works report. Certainly entertain any comments. I would ask you to take a look at the third page under wastewater. Wastewater Commission met earlier this month, and one of the projects that we're working on right now is rate study. And one of the questions within the rate study is really trying to get a handle on our liability for replacing sanitary sewers and lift stations and infrastructure over the next 30 years. Well, I was able to utilize the city's GIS, make some assumptions that are certainly assumptions. They're listed in the report. But if we take a look at the older sanitary mains, anything constructed prior to 1966, it's also clay, and take a look at about 80% of that is likely to need replacing in the next 30 years. We see that we've got about 7,000 feet of main a year to either reline or replace in order to accommodate that. So that's a significant task, one that's would certainly be very challenging. Also, the sanitary manholes, about 1,100 sanitary manholes, and 6 of our 17 lift stations are approaching or at end of life. So wastewater's got some liabilities coming up that are going to have to be addressed as we move forward. Were there any other questions regarding the report?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Under Buildings and Grounds, number 3 says concluding last auction will run one more, hopefully in March. What's that all about, auction?
Those are for surplus tables, chairs, equipment that the city has. Matt does online auction through the Wisconsin Surplus.
Okay.
To make those items available to anybody that's interested.
All right, and then it's probably the 5th from the bottom. It says camera installation at Robinson Park will begin as soon as the weather warms up a bit. What's that camera? I didn't know.
We've had some issues with some likely non-residents, at least that's the way it appears so far, choosing to steal city services. They'll bring their garbage into the park and dump it in the cans in the park. And a few folks have been discovered by taking a look at some of the items in their trash and have been notified, but the practice continues. And
Okay.
so there'll be some cameras put in some of the parks and some different places to try to curb that.
You know, they had a bad rash of vandalism last fall on Park and Rec, I want to say, in their winter meeting, one of their winter meetings approved out of park outlay for the installation of the cameras.
Okay. And then I noticed that the last one, painting of the city hall, I think it looks great. I mean, just upgrades a professional looking building. But I had a question too. This is the Council on Beautification. We've often talked about this area south of the City Hall building, and maybe at some time you could meet with them maybe this month and as to what are possibilities of what can replace the shrubs that were taken out and what it might look like. Just because we were doing the painting and that might just finish it off, so if you could maybe meet or have someone meet with the Council on Beautification and share your thoughts, and they can share their thoughts with you. I think it might be helpful, so.
I think Jim from Streets was working on, when we did this side over here, complimenting on each side was what was talked about for that area, but maybe Jim, you've got some more updates on that.
Yeah, I thought maybe if, and I was just thinking stones, but if somebody wanted to do flowers or something like that, that's something the council could, weigh in on, but if we weren't going that route, we were gonna go with this black rock again and possibly in the center put a WR and white stone or something that would stand out a little bit.
Because it'd be nice for spring.
That one's a little more visible than the one on the backside.
Yeah, I mean, maybe leave that one alone, but, yeah, food for thought.
Along that same thought process, pressure washing City Hall, I know I get a lot of comments
Yes.
about how it's overdone, over
Yeah.
necessary. Question about, if I could, Tom, about
Yep.
the airport report. I think Jeremy had talked about, or we had discussed putting in a airport.
Yep, and I
report
neglected to
in the
get that in here.
Okay.
I need to do that.
He's giving one to the commission now, and then it'll go through the council process of the reports, but I think Jeremy could have a few points he'd include in the report every month as well. Just be helpful for more awareness of what's going on there too.
And you also mentioned too that you're getting estimates for truck route signage. I think it's great. I mean, it's making a difference, the routes, and I'm glad you brought it up. But it's nice to get that signage in and, finish that task that
Right.
we have, so.
Yep.
That's the only comments I have.
Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll go to item 3. Review the draft policy on sanitary lateral replacements within the right-of-way and make recommendations. It's a follow-up from our last meeting.
So the policy that's in the packet is the same draft policy that was presented last meeting. Again, it was drafted in an attempt to provide some guidance to staff and at the wishes of the council on how to deal with sanitary and storm laterals in the right-of-way that aren't part of road reconstruction projects.
Questions or comments by anybody? It was fine with me when I read it over, I guess.
I read through it.
Unless
looks
somebody
fine.
brings something up.
Looks fine to me.
Well, I'll make a motion that we pass the engineering department's policy for privately owned sanitary storm laterals in the city right-of-way.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Number 4, review sanitary sewer lining bids and make recommendations.
So we had quite a few plan holders. The bid tabulation is attached. There were four bidders. The lowest bid came in at $342,182.20 from Visu Sewer from Milwaukee. And based on looking at all their documentation, everything looks to be in order. Certainly it came in below the budgeted amount. And so staff would recommend approving Visu Sewer as the apparent low bidder for this contract.
I don't know if there'll be questions. I would make a motion to approve the low bid by Versus Sewer of $342,182.20 for relining of the Chestnut Street and 17th Avenue North project.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, pass the recommended bid to accept from Visu Sewer for $342,182.20. Any questions? Committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Review pricing proposals for concrete structures, catch basins, manholes, pipe, and make a recommendation.
So the materials that we get for road reconstruction projects, the manholes and inlet structures, those sorts of things, we usually procure from County Materials. Similar to previous years, they've offered discounts to the city. Their pricing has gone up a little bit this year, but their discounts remain the same as previous years, so based on that, we would look to procure the items from them again this year, but
What will the total bid be?
it's all based upon the project quantities, so this is just the,
Basically unit pricing.
yeah.
Okay.
unit
So
pricing.
if you look through the pages there are prices per vertical foot for manhole sections, 48-inch diameter manhole sections. There's unit pricing for the base that they sit on. There's unit pricing for different sizes of concrete pipe.
All right. So you buy them as needed?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and this price guide is the market rate that they sell for, and then the discounts get taken off of that.
Yeah, this isn't a question, it's more of a comment, because we get competitive bids all the time at work, but review pricing proposals, I see one proposal, so I assume you got more?
We don't have any more.
Well, for semantics, it should say review
Sure.
pricing proposal, because you only got one. And I would highly recommend we start getting more.
I know in the past, we used to get more, but the competitors are,
Maybe there ain't one, but
they're, yeah, they kind of have their territories, and
It's no different than American Asphalt.
Right, it's very similar to
You're not
that.
gonna
So,
get
I mean, we
Essentially
could-
no bid,
price for
even
painted
though.
Dolan up here.
Right, yeah. Again, a territory, but I was gonna ask the same question.
I mean, we could certainly do that.
no, I just change it to proposal when you make your,
Yeah, sure.
Change the wording.
yeah.
Well, maybe, just going on with what you're saying, maybe the next year when we do it, to get proposals outside so the public knows that this is the best deal.
Sure.
But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, you're right, you
But-
gotta go
Yep.
a little
Yeah.
closer, I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion, a second?
I don't
Tim
think
got
so.
it.
Just for information, we did get competitive bids years ago. American Pipe out of Green Bay actually won the bid one year, and they only bid it 1 year. The problem with concrete pipe and structures is
There's
trucking
always-
is so expensive.
yeah.
You can haul so little on a load that the
Maybe
farther
we
you have
do
to
it,
truck
sure.
it, the less competitive you become. And they
Sure.
just kind of tried to break into the area one time, and I think they lost enough money that they didn't try it again.
I'll make a motion to accept the price list for pipe and constructs from County Materials Corporation, as stated.
I'll second it. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Number 6, review the Lincoln Jackson Street and Grand Avenue design update.
It's a small update. The document that we're waiting on is the intersection control evaluation. and that should be available for the April meeting. Although we did get a couple conceptual roundabout layouts. There's single lane concept and then a mini roundabout, just for information and review. So again, the three options that are being considered right now are a roundabout, traffic signals, and four-way stop. And you know, what the consultant will provide quite a bit of information, the pros and cons in the intersection control evaluation report, and then we'll bring it to the committee in April and look for hopefully a recommendation at that point that can be included in the report.
Is the first one, I guess I want to say double lane, and the second one a single lane?
Well, they're both single lane.
Oh,
It's just a
Yeah, just
bigger
the circle
roundabout.
inside is
Takes a
smaller
little
than
more.
there.
I kind of like the first one in a sense, because I like the area where you have a crossing, and that's east students or House students may be crossing there. And that, I guess I want to use the term islands that are there, the triangular islands, where it looks like you could wait. I think it's much wider and broader than the other one. And if you have, let's say, students walk in pairs or three or
Sure.
four, they could stop there, or a parent with a stroller.
A little larger refuge island.
Yeah, and then also,
libraries right there.
I'm always pushing green. And so like the first one with the bigger island, at the center, we could put some attractive, rather than all concrete, wherever you look, there's always concrete, it seems to me. Where that would give you not only the safety of the, I guess, again, the islands, but the green where you could put something attractive there for appeal, so, something to think about.
Mayor?
We actually, in the Crossing Guard Committee, a couple weeks ago, eliminated that as a protected cross or intersection now because of, you can't get crossing guards to apply for the position. So I think your comments about pedestrian counts are warranted. I know they do a lot of counts there on a regular basis just to monitor it. But the other question, I guess, is what point will the type of reconstruction be triggered for a roundabout or a traditional intersection? What's the threshold, or is it purely a local decision? 'Cause I know that's a question, it hasn't been asked of
Yeah.
us already, it will be asked by the public.
I think the local decision weighs heavily in the recommendation. Of course, there's gonna be pros and cons related to more objective sorts of things, costs and other impacts that, certainly with this proposal right here, it's gonna be a substantial upfront cost with the right-of-way acquisition that would be needed for that. So all those sorts of things will be weighed. As far as operations of the intersection, serving vehicle traffic, they all will operate pretty much the same over the course of the design life.
I tend to favor the reduced size, the mini, only because, well, a couple of reasons. First of which you just mentioned, the right-of-way. I think an unfair knock on roundabouts is they take up more space than a traditional intersection. And I think if a mini roundabout can be accommodated there, I think it'll help achieve the operational objective that I, as a motorist, tend to favor, and that's to not have to sit at a stoplight. I like to be able to get through an intersection, and that's where I think the courthouse roundabout functions very well, and the public seems to like that a lot. That's, I guess, my 2 cents on the idea. I know it's a change, and change is always met with resistance, or it's welcomed to people that like the change. But I think a roundabout there makes sense. I'd be very concerned about the amount of right-of-way, and I know the two parcel owners have been asking the city for a lot of information for a long time about how much right-of-way, because of the marketability of the former Domino's. The park is a lesser of an issue, but I still think for that parcel to remain viable of its current ownership, they certainly wouldn't want to give up that much right-of-way, but I think they'd be open to it if they had to. So I guess those are my comments about kind of where my hat may fall on that.
Joe?
And some other considerations also would be really the city's desire for handling traffic in general in that area. If if the goal is to encourage that Grand Avenue traffic to stay on Grand Avenue, certain intersection designs may be preferable to do that. If the focus is for the through traffic to work its way down Jackson, other intersection designs may help promote that type of activity as well. So, you know, there's cost, there's function, there's, you know, there's some geometry issues here with the topography of the land, where some of the options may become more cost prohibitive over other options. But again, we'll be able to see that once we have a definitive report, and then those recommendations highlighting the benefits and costs for all of the different options in the near future.
And in
And
practical
that'll
questions.
include the land acquisition of how much we need or
Yep.
And because the
cost to
federal,
get it.
right, I
whatever.
was just gonna say, because of the federal dollars, that acquisition cost comes at a higher price, right? Because we have to follow other standards and procedures that we wouldn't do if it were a locally funded project, or isn't that so much of an issue?
No, I think we would still follow the state laws and federal laws regarding
Either
land
way.
purchases. Yep, either way. It's just usually something like that would be more than a nominal purchase, which we'd need specialty, someone certified to do that.
Yeah, and that's maybe where the cost, okay.
So what's wrong with a four-way stop?
There's nothing wrong, and they
Wouldn't
just.
it be safer for kids crossing with a four-way stop versus a roundabout? Because sometimes if you have that island in the middle coming through, you usually don't see what's on the other side until you're there.
Yeah, that's what I was concerned about, those bigger island.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Yeah.
But if we have the amount of traffic, the foot traffic crossing, it would just make more sense to go with the four-way stop.
We'll see, next month you guys
Right,
are.
yeah, and that's
hope
part
to
of
have
the
it all put-
evaluation.
Yeah,
All
they're
put
doing the
together, and
evaluation.
that's one of the options to look at
Yeah,
and
they are.
consider.
I'll be honest with you, I go to work this way every day, and I stop more at the intersection before to let kids cross the east than I do ever at this one. And I might
that's
go
why
a
the
different
process-
route each day, but I go that road every day to work. And I know probably many of us.
Joe, do you have what the size difference in the two roundabouts that are presented there, or
I
is this
don't.
just a
These
were just
Yeah.
hypothetical
Yeah.
sketch, okay?
Yep.
So I just wondered if twice as big or half as big, the bigger one, how much bigger, but, okay, we'll get that next one. Any further questions or anything, comments, anybody? Well, that'll be on our agenda for April. Number 7. Review and approve the resolution for bike and pedestrian accommodations on East Grand Avenue.
So the legislation, regulation on bicycle and pedestrian accommodations on state and federal projects as governed by Trans 75, that's been modified recently. And the new regulation, it doesn't mandate that bicycles and pedestrians are necessarily accommodated to a certain degree, whereas it used to be. It used to be you had to provide accommodations. So with the new regulations, there just needs to be a commitment by resolution from the municipality that the city would like to see bike and ped accommodations on the East Grand Avenue project. So I've provided a draft resolution. There's a little bit of background. That corridor is part of the city's bike network. Takes you out to 16th Street, I believe, and eventually tie in with Plover Road by Aspirus, and you could head north and south from there. But
I don't have a problem with how much does that,
Or
how wide would the lanes be left, or that are left and parking left on it?
sure. So there's kind of 3 sections along the length of the corridor. just kind of three different typical sections that would be proposed. And there's, between Third Street and Lincoln, there's quite an excess of right-of-way there. And so we've got 3 lanes, 3 travel lanes for the majority of the project. It would drop down to 2. And then the terraces would be widened out, and the bike lanes would be, I believe they're 4 feet, and they'd run on both sides of the road.
And still accommodations for parking.
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna, 1 lane, and that would leave room for parking.
You're not
I just
gonna
wanted
have
to
a
make sure.
curb for the bike lane.
We can bring those to the
I like
next
those.
meeting too, to share some of the proposed typical sections to see. Something I probably should have brought with today, but
Do you want the resolution now? I mean, for us to pass it? I
if
don't
you're
have- I don't
all
have a
right
problem.
with it.
Is any,
I'm all right with
I mean, we're narrowing that down for car traffic anyhow, so we got
Right.
plenty of room, right?
yeah. Well, I'll move that we accept or pass the resolution for bike and pedestrian accommodations on East Grand Avenue.
Second.
Be able to ride my bike in the heat.
Any further discussion by anybody? Hearing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
it. Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Item 8, review 8th Street South and Chestnut intersection safety project.
Okay, this is this project was bid last fall, and I think there were two bidders at that time, and the bids came in substantially higher than the engineer's estimate. It was just determined that we should probably rebid the project. That was done in December, I believe. The DOT did that. The results are on the document that I handed out. There were 4 bidders. The prices still came in about 15%. I think it was, I guess I don't have a percentage higher, but it's about 15 grand lower than the previous low bid on the bid this last fall. So this funding for this project is from the Highway Safety Improvement Program. It's a 90-10 split, and 10% being picked up by the city. That pot of money does have a sunset date of 2016, and so I'm not sure if the DOT's awarded the contract yet to the low bid contractor, but it is something that will need to be done this summer in order to use the funds up.
That's great. To me, that's
Yeah.
one of the worst intersections we have, making the left turn.
How long does that take into, that isn't a big project, is it?
No, it should only take, well, by the time they start to finish up, it'll be a month or less.
So if we get it, we'll be able to get her in, I'm thinking before next,
Right.
cool time, but, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Item 9, review and approve an amendment to the on-call storm water services agreement with MSA Professional Services. Joe, do you have that?
Yep, so this is a ongoing contract that we usually bring back every year to kind of renew if need be. Again, it's an on-call basis where if there's some assistance that we need on anything stormwater related, that's what the contract's meant to include. Some of the project scope that's identified as part of this contract is related to the 1 Mile Creek. The funding amount isn't proposed to change at all from last year. It's kind of just a continuation of that amount. We didn't use all the funds last year. We only used $4,800. And the proposed scope, task items in here are proposed to be $5,200 or less, so.
Which is in the budget.
Yep, through the stormwater utility.
questions or anything? Otherwise,
Make a motion.
okay, yeah,
I move to approve the amendment to the on-call stormwater services agreement with MSA Professional Services as indicated.
second. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, ayes have it. Item 10, discuss recycling truck replacement, including possibility of changing to a single-stream recycling, and to make a recommendation. This is from the follow-up from the February meeting.
So last month, you'll recall, we took a look at the report, the cost analysis. It's a project that, depending on the recycling market, could cost a little bit, it could save a little bit. It's virtually a net zero. And that is if the city maintains the current system, but chooses to purchase replacement recycling bins for the ones that are failing, then the cost goes from potentially a small loss to a small gain to a gain. The comparison is the city replaces a truck and doesn't purchase any additional bins versus going to a single stream automated. That was the comparison in the report. Since then, River Cities Community Access was kind enough to do a short and a short interview as well, and has been publicizing that. And I've received a number of communications from the public, from emails to phone calls to some letters, and really the split is about even for those that would prefer to keep the current system versus those that would like to see the system evolve into a single stream automated. Some of the concerns that were expressed by those that wish to maintain the current system really focused around the size of the containers, that they felt that a 95-gallon container just wouldn't be practical and wouldn't fit in the spaces that they have, that an assessment or a direct cost to the residents would be a burden for some, and that some prefer to separate their paper from the rest of the materials and enjoy taking them directly to a local manufacturer that can use the paper. So there were a number of concerns expressed. I did take an opportunity to meet with some of the members of the public, some that were, well, really no one that was specifically for it, but there were about 14 people that either had questions or were opposed to the program. And those are really the people that I wanted to get some comments from to try to assess the carts, the different designs of carts, and potentially different sizes. As I have spoken with a number of municipalities over the past several months, the recommendation by everybody is don't have a wide variety of cart sizes as options, because what will happen, and what's happened elsewhere, is that people think that the big cart's too big, so they get a small cart, thinking on an average weekly basis. But then when events happen, whether it's Christmas or some spring cleaning or other events where there are a large number of recyclables, they fill their bin and they place it out and they're looking for additional space. And so initially, my recommendation would have been a 95-gallon container, which is a recommendation by many other municipalities. However, after meeting with a number of members of the public, especially folks who are a little older, maybe have lost a spouse or are by themselves, that the big cart might take months and months to fill and may really not be the best choice for those folks. And so I brought along today the two sizes that I would be recommending The one is the 95-gallon container, and the other is a 48-gallon container. I guess 96 and 48. But what was interesting is some of the folks that I spoke with were pretty small people, elderly, fairly frail. And that 95-gallon container is filled to the top with recyclables, and none of them had any issue moving it around, manipulating it. Carts of a different design, the big cart, there were some issues. This particular cart, the design has the wheels inboard. It's a little easier to high center the cart and tip it back. And then again, some of the folks, especially that were single and elderly, preferred the smaller one. They didn't feel that they would need a larger one than that. Look at a few of my other notes. There were some questions about the potential to privatize. I did get some quotes for that, and at this time, in-house would be between $20,000 and $97,000 less than any type of privatization. One neighborhood that I stopped at, the resident was interested enough and pleased that I was willing to come out, that he brought the whole neighborhood over. So there were 10 or 12 people, and the feeling was really the same by everybody to start with. There was a level of concern about the sizes, but after everybody had a chance to manipulate the carts and move them around, and we just got some snow, so they had a chance to roll them around, felt that certainly it was much easier than carting a bin around, and having a size option available would definitely be desirable, as some of them were retired and a small group. So I tried to evaluate the concerns of the public and recommend some potential modifications to the program. I still believe that a single stream automated would be significantly safer, will result in a significant increase in the collection of recyclable materials, and at the end of the day, eventually if we do the same with our garbage collection, we'll end up saving the city quite a bit of money.
You mentioned some were concerned if they're elderly or single person, but we're purchasing these for the resident, the home. I mean, they'll be selling their home, or they may be leaving,
Right.
and there may be a different person there.
Right.
So it seems to me it may be the larger one because of that, rather than the smaller one. I don't know.
So certainly, if the committee approves moving forward, it would go to finance, and if the finance committee approves it, it goes to the council, and if the council approves it, at that point, I would start working with staff and creating a plan and public outreach. And part of that plan would be, and public outreach would be, a strong recommendation to utilize the largest cart. However, I think that there would be some options, especially as we're just getting started, for someone to opt for a smaller cart, and to keep the city off of a potentially financial issue if someone gets a small cart and says, gee whiz, I guess I want the big one. We certainly don't want to have the city inventorying a lot of unused carts. And so, that it would have to be understood that if you need to change carts, you'd have to pay for the additional cart. Otherwise there's no way to control it. I've talked to some municipalities that they started with choices of 3 or 4, and they ended up with an awful lot of carts just sitting in their cold storage, because people just ended up wanting bigger carts. But I do believe that there are a number of people out here that would use a small cart, use it very effectively, and you know, for a good length of time.
If you have the cost differential between a large cart and a small cart, and
It's a few dollars.
if it's a small differential,
Yeah.
if it's a big differential, they may say, well, I'll take the small cart. But if it's a small differential, then they'll say, oh, I'll take the big cart.
Yeah, it's
So-
about $4.
So, okay,
It's really
minimal,
very minimal.
okay.
Well, for the viewing public, I don't know if the camera can get the two that are over against the wall. Maybe if we move the chair there on the end and, I'm not-
The one thing I did want
hopefully
to
the
point
camera
out,
can pick it up. I mean,
one of the concerns that the public had was space, that this thing is huge, there wouldn't be room in a garage or where they currently keep their recycling bins. If people currently have 2 recycling bins, you can see that the 2 bins actually are wider than the large cart. And up against a wall, the cart takes up a little more space than the 2 bins. About 3 or 4 more inches. So really, it has about the same footprint as 2 of our current recycling bins. This particular design, and again, this is full, so I would really encourage you to come and manipulate it yourself. You know, but this thing is completely full. It's pretty heavy, and it's very easy to tip and move around.
and again, Joe, for the public, the recyclables, everything goes in there?
Yeah, it'd be single stream.
Right,
So
just so the
you just-
public, I guess, understands what
Right,
we're talking
you
about.
would put everything in one bin and just put it out to the curb, and the truck collects it. At the end of the day, you just bring the bin back.
One of the, well, not my concern, because I do what you just said, I dump my paper off at the mill, but one of the concerns, especially from constituents in Rosewood and in my area, was mixing the paper with the recyclables, and the paper's gonna get all wet, and how you gonna separate that? And I said, well, I'm sure we got a way to do it.
We did have an opportunity to meet with staff from Corenso. Wet paper's not an issue.
Well, I know they leave it outside,
But paper that is, that might have some aluminum foil or other things commingled is an issue. And so the value of recyclable paper when single streamed is not as high as it is if it is dual stream like we do right now.
how is it for us to sort?
We
We
don't.
don't.
We don't?
Send it to Plover and it gets sorted at a MRF
How
there.
is it for them?
They don't like it. I mean, the sorters don't, Vance does not, because of the volume, because of the contaminants, there's a reduction in the volume that gets sold back to Corenso or other buyers. When we did talk with Corenso, though, one of the questions we asked is, in their overall buying, how much is sourced in Rapids in our curbside collection of the entire,
Oh, yeah.
because if you think about ODC and what we do, some of
Local,
us,
yeah,
you know, drop it off at
truckloads.
paperboard, it's about I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
It was a small
It was a
amount.
very small amount in their overall, overall total. I mean, they get maybe a truck a week, I think is what Mark Ellis told us.
We did a study of our loads for about 7 days, and our recycling was about even split. The paper's a little bit less than the containers, and it was about 1.5 tons a day.
Ton and a half, yeah.
I'm asking those questions for the public, not for myself. I
Right.
know the answers to
Well, I just think it's important too to understand the impact on the industry, right? Because they buy, it doesn't go any further than 25th Avenue and it comes back to the board mill, you know, for reuse of the mill.
I mean, I just came back from Madison, so I'll go on record saying I'm for the big bin, so. But what about the truck? I mean, this is all gonna come forward. I didn't see, did we say anything on the truck cost yet?
So the truck will cost about $25,000 more if it's automated.
But we need
So you've
one.
got, we need a truck
That's the other
either way.
question, yeah.
Right.
That you get from people that call.
Yeah.
So 10-year lifespan though estimated, right, of
Mhm.
either truck, that's not gonna change. But I think what was just asked, I've gotten questioned about why the change? Why now, right? And I
Right.
think it's important the truck is the driver, right? And do you take the opportunity to go a different route now, or do you maybe wait or never do it maybe, but that's the one question I keep getting is.
Sure,
Why are
why
we,
now?
it's great to know all of
Yeah.
this, but why? And I'm glad you asked the truck question.
We'll be talking the
So-
same thing for the garbage.
Right, so
So-
the truck is the real issue, and when it's time to replace the garbage trucks, then the economy is very significant as far as the reduction in cost to collect using the automated system. So at that point in time, those trucks are very likely to be replaced with automated. And then thereafter, recycling would only make sense. So the question is do we start now or later?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about safety fact. Nobody brings
No,
that up
right,
when you
okay,
talk to them, but you know, a guy getting in and out of the truck, I mean, I see him pick up by us and.
Yeah,
you
there's,
know, I mean,
there's.
how many do they do in a day?
Between 5 and
Him.
800
Yeah.
stops a day.
So,
Right.
we didn't even talk about that, you know.
And again, for the public, there's one person on the truck now, and
There's
there
still-
will be one person, if we go single stream, then
Right.
there's be one person. So
Yeah,
as
there's
far
still
as that,
options still.
it's just a change in how we pick, how it gets picked up.
Right.
And how it's, what the
The
resident,
other,
what the resident can do, as far, one container instead of maybe paper or however they do it now.
the other advantage of the automated, and a side-loading truck that we would recommend, is that it's much cleaner.
Yeah, you won't have bottles blowing down.
You know, even on a breezy day, if you follow the recycling truck around, when they dump, it's messy. And there are times things fly around and it's,
Well, even at night, if you have a storm, you can go up and pick them in your front yard, but if you don't, they're still there, you know.
right. So just having the recyclables out, you know, here they're in an enclosed container, but it does make a difference just in the appearance of the community as far as the materials that blow around.
And you don't have to have plastic bags. You just
No,
put it right in there.
Just put it in
Which
a
is
loose.
a savings for a household over time.
Right.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, I know, we've all received calls, but that's the biggest thing I heard was and if you allowed both sizes, you know.
Steve?
Withdraw.
Steve?
Withdraws.
Oh, you're done, oh, okay.
I have also met with our finance director to talk about options, and I believe there are several options that would be available where the city would not have to directly assess. Whether it is a bond notice, whether it is taking a look at some other savings and surpluses or out of specific equipment fund accounts. There are a few different things that we can look at in order to fund this so that there's not an immediate and direct cost to the resident. The other benefit of a program like this is that the container is of direct use to the resident. They have an asset that's there for them to use, and especially after we go to garbage, you know, there wouldn't be a need for a person to purchase a garbage can in the future because we would, you know, the city would be supplying them. Some concerns have been expressed about, what if it's stolen? We're proposing that these be equipped with a radio frequency ID tag that costs about 75 cents a piece. And that allows the city to manage its inventory as it delivers the carts. You scan the cart, and the address is tied with that particular cart. If it disappears, and the city has to replace it, as the truck's collecting, if there's one that, you know, if we have flags, you know, on carts that are stolen or missing or whatever, as they're loaded, that technology exists so that we can monitor that in the field. So there's a number of things that we can do to ensure that, you know, the public's carts don't all disappear and go to some other community or something.
I just had 2 calls, one for and one against. Though it's interesting, the one for has a number of rental properties, And I think that person has talked to other people that rental properties, and they're in favor of the larger one, and they're in favor of this concept. It's just, now, that person's not speaking for, her, but it's just something to share with you.
And I had a landlord that called that was against it.
Yeah, see,
So, right.
It's almost a flip a
Yeah.
coin.
Can't
I
believe
would
it.
say-
I would say 7 out of 10 support it. The
Yeah.
ones that I've talked to, about 70-30. I think the 30% come to size of the cart that's been mentioned. And then I think, people, if they have good blue bins yet, some of the very few, I don't know how many people, Jim, have them in the city.
Less than half.
Less than half,
I got
yeah.
blue bins, but they're not those.
Well, I was never got up to it, so I just think in general, people, if you miss a week and
Realize they're that big.
household size makes a big difference, but I think making this your default and those that are smaller households, 1 or 2 people, I think the smaller size makes sense. It's economical in terms of size for them.
One person that doesn't want to take it out to 2 weeks, it's not half full, it's got to cover it, you can leave it for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's recyclable.
I'll have no problem filling it up, I'm sure.
So if it is approved, the next steps would be the public outreach, determining the carts, purchasing the truck, there's a number of things. If it's turned down,
You still need a
then
truck.
the process is we need to purchase a truck.
That should
Need the
be
truck
clear,
either
we still
way.
need a
Yeah.
truck.
It's just
And-
what route we go.
And the trends that we're seeing in our recycling participation and from observations from staff in the field collecting garbage and collecting recyclables, either way, there really should be a public outreach component, because there are some people in town that do a very good job with recycling, and there's others that don't at all. And compared to a number of other cities in the state, and basically municipalities, the comparison is pounds per capita. City of Wisconsin Rapids does pretty well when compared even to some of the other places that have changed to single stream automated. Right now, we're doing pretty well compared to quite a few of those, but there is a lot of room yet for improvement. And recycling's a pretty big business in Wisconsin.
Joe, right now, just to start off, we'd be starting off with the recycling at this point in time.
Right, the garbage trucks have,
They're 7 years old.
yeah,
So
so
they got 3 years left. of
3 or
life,
so years left.
At least. Recycling truck is about 17 years old.
From the start, ain't it? Almost.
It's tired.
It's seen its better days,
Hopefully it'll last.
and not worth putting money into it.
So, yeah, that's a good question. So everything gets approved, let's say, how long you get a truck?
Well, it depends on the truck. But I believe at this point, we could, it'd be some effort, but I think we could have the program implemented by November 1.
Okay, so by winter.
That's what I was gonna ask, if that date that's in our packet here was still good, which is November
We're
1.
budgeted for a truck, right?
Mhm.
So it's
So,
a little more cost maybe, but.
Years ago, I think we've had it in our budget,
It's been in there, right?
replacement cycle, yeah.
the next steps that we go through, how fast is that gonna have to go to meet that November
I
1?
think you're gonna
We
go-
order
we
the truck.
certainly would need to spec and order the truck very soon. The challenge with the carts is the delivery, assembly and delivery. And we would have to make some decisions on whether or not we want to try to do that in-house, or whether or not we want to have a service provider do those deliveries. The prices that I quoted in the report is having that service provided. We'd really have to evaluate, there are certainly some benefits as far as getting the carts where they need to go by doing it in-house. Our staff knows, our garbage and recycling staff knows where people put their garbage and recyclables. Some other communities have had some challenges with having a third party do that distribution. But that's still 6,400 carts to deliver and assemble and pull the data off of. And, I mean, it is not a trivial task.
Would you get summer help, temporary? You know, like high school kids or college?
Why don't you deliver and give them a break for putting it together themselves?
We're picking it up.
Yeah.
Picking it up.
The default could be that residents have to pick them up if they want them delivered. It's a
Or do
it's
a
fee.
combo deal, you know? I'm sure you save some money if we put them together, if you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, summer ain't a bad idea either.
Okay, you know,
We're
kids'
looking
jobs, high school kids' jobs and so forth.
Well, if we can, they're looking for a recommendation from the committee.
Keep going.
So,
I'm not
I
on
guess
the
committee, how do
I
you,
don't have a vote.
I think I know how you feel.
I'll
but
take
go ahead.
I would recommend that we proceed as you're planning. To go to the common council would be April, or
Go to F&B
Go,
first.
this one, Public Works would go to March, and then April Finance, unless for some
Okay.
reason.
It's gotta go through
finance-
them.
It's gotta go through finance.
Yeah, so it'd be
Give them
April
get the money.
council before it
April,
happens.
right.
For
for a vote. And then people can have a month or so to
Right.
come. Are these going to be, can you keep these at City Hall here?
Yeah, what I would,
In case
what we'll
people-
try to do is we'll get those cleaned out and washed up, and we can leave them here for people to come and try out. You know, what we literally did is the guys were collecting recyclables, they just grabbed some and threw them in here. So,
Yeah.
you know, we could clean them out, put some cleaner recyclables in there so people can tip them, you know, full, but with,
Or bricks are put in there or something.
yeah, well, bricks would be pretty heavy enough.
No, I mean, you know, just enough
And
to.
and if there's enough, or more questions from the public that you didn't address with public access, or what
Yeah,
we're talking about tonight, that we could do something further on public access or through the media somehow.
Yeah, I would expect that, that part of the outreach is gonna be through public access. I'm sure we're gonna have to have a mailing and some other things. But it's really thanks to the people who have contacted me that really some of my expectations have changed because of those discussions. And so it's been quite valuable. You know, I think for people that still have concerns or questions, I mean, I'd certainly encourage them to continue to call or email. Because as we're putting together the implementation plan, if it goes that way, you know, there may be a few other things that we didn't think about. And the better we can, you know, even for those that really don't want to see a change, if we're able to address their concerns, you know, I would certainly hope that when it's done, they would find it much more convenient and in the end be pleased with the change.
And just one more, Jim, and I think I brought it up at the last meeting, but how does the crew feel about going to a single stream?
I think we're all looking forward to that change.
Okay, again,
The automated
for
truck
us
would be
here,
the-
but for the public too.
Right, the automated truck would be the big advantage, so the driver doesn't have to get out
Yeah.
700 times a day. Much safer.
Safer because of that.
Eliminate all the slips
Stepping
and
on ice,
falls.
snow, whatever, in the
Right.
wintertime.
The single stream, the only difference that would make is instead of dumping twice at a transfer station, you dump once. You know, so that's not a big deal to the collection crews. To me, the main thing is we've got to get a clean truck, and we're not going to buy something that's going to dump half the material in the truck and half on the roof like our truck does now, you know, and recycling's messy as it is, like Terry said, the bins sit out overnight and some mornings they're half empty by the time we get to them, you know, blowing all over the neighborhood. So really gonna try hard to get as clean a truck as we can that dumps effectively and try to clean up the whole process.
I paint lines on the end of my driveway, so I know where to put it. I don't know.
Well, committee, do you all feel comfortable enough for a motion to go single stream and pass this on?
Yeah, I'd make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Making a recommendation that city purchase a new truck for recycling, and that it's a single stream. Correct? For those that make the motion second, okay. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, committee, we can vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So that moves on in the process. Again, for those watching, it's not the end of the process. So stay, as Joe said, stay in touch, email or call. As he said, there may be something nobody's thought of. So, okay, with that, we can go to item 11, and that's to review the referral list. Well, item 10, that was the recycling truck and recycling program. Can we take that off?
For us, I guess.
For us, yeah, and it moves on to
It goes
a
on
different one, yep.
finance.
We'll take off 10.
We may want to replace number 10 with, develop an implementation program for single-stream automated recycling.
All right.
That's not gonna be a trivial effort if we're going to effectively reach out to the community.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so to put something different on.
Right.
Take 10 off,
We can take
10
that
off, but reword it with a.
Discussing.
and create a new one
Yeah,
to, right.
Okay, okay, yep. And we're gonna take up the traffic, the speed limit ones next month,
April.
Yep.
both of them?
For sure, the 25th Avenue one.
Okay. Possibly 30
Possibly.
seconds,
Yep.
We got a lot of people here for that one. The calls I'm getting.
Yeah, same here.
Are there any here that, others, Joe, that we may, for next month, that are on this list, that we need to do next month? That's all.
No. None that we need to do. We might have a couple additional ready to take up.
Okay. Well, I'd like us, I don't know if we have to put it on there, I talked with you guys about Quinnell's Creek. Do we need a referral on there to whatever, or?
We could put it on.
I mean, you guys, are looking into it, or going to.
Yep, yeah, when the ice comes off, we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
can do
put
that.
put that on there, and for those, it's concern, but complaints, I should say, of being low, being filled in. That, which I think and I probably have it here, but dredging that we did was 20 years ago, Joe?
Yep, 20 years ago,
Somewhere around
96,
that,
I think
so.
it was.
And I'm not sure, again, $10,000 or something comes to mind, but maybe that wasn't it for what it was at that time, I think, so. To dredge it out. So, yeah, put that on there, so I guess, because we talked about, this isn't on the agenda, so I guess, but possibly look at it, and maybe something could be done, or possibly with the first
Yeah, possible
project.
conjunction with that road project.
I think number 2, Joe, you had a comment that says discuss pavement markings and signage for bicycle lanes, and I think you mentioned rather than doing a large number, to do them in a section at a time, then maybe we could come up with some type
A
of.
plan.
A plan, so we can get started with that, because I think that's important, as to what we're gonna do this year, what we're gonna do next year, so forth.
Yeah, the weather will be getting nicer, hopefully,
Yeah.
that it, we could start if we
Yeah.
had the plan.
And
Yep.
more of a question, so the
Okay.
whole membrane thing, where does that go? Where do we talk about that?
Well, my understanding, that was appealed and went to the zoning board of appeals yesterday. They denied the request, but things are gonna be held, I guess, be like a moratorium or held in abeyance, that the people are going to turn in a proposal or whatever you wanna call it, for the appropriate committee, to take a look at and possibly make some changes. It could be in the definition of what it is.
It's an
And
ordinance.
I don't know what's all gonna be in there, what's gonna be in the request. It could be to, leave those that are there. I mean, and it, not to say anymore, because I don't know what they're gonna put into it. So there's gonna be a proposal brought to the city clerk and,
Zoning, so it's Adam.
Adam, so that's where I told him to, so I just wanted to make sure that.
brought to the clerk's office and then, to the appropriate committee that it
Well, they've been dealing.
would go to, so.
It's an ordinance change.
I told Adam Tague
Or
that.
it's ordinance, it's a zoning concern, right, so it would go through Adam's office of planning and zoning, as would any appeals too, if somebody got cited or anything else.
There's probably more than one, but the ones that called me, I just.
And I
There's
happen,
dozens.
I happen to be at the meeting, so I hope I
Something, there's lots.
relayed that right. I haven't seen the minutes, but
Yeah, I
that's
said
my
that.
take on it. Hopefully I explained it right, so.
Okay.
So, and I think, I don't know, there's, they're not probably totally happy, but they are happy in the sense that there's a,
Well,
hold on what's
direct where to
going,
go,
hold
right?
on what's going on, hold on the
Stay,
fines and
yeah.
the citations that have been sent out, and the city will look at it.
And maybe I'll ask Adam to send a memo to the council, because if there are questions about where that heads next, that might be helpful to
Yeah.
get a memo from Adam.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
I
yep,
can
So we
do
can
that.
share with our
right,
constituents.
yep.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to second to adjourn tonight. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Public Works has ended at 7:37. Thank you.